What's going on, guys? Guitar historian here with you. Cracking a beer because I feel like it. Didn't really expect to go live tonight. This is kind of an impromptu thing. I just got done recording my next video, which is going to be the 1971 video. It was a lot of fun. Definitely going to be interesting to go through kind of all the major releases from that year. So really stay tuned. I'm going to try to finish it up tomorrow. It's going to be kind of a bitch to edit it, but I'm going to get it done, and we're going to try to get it released by this weekend. I actually had to switch my schedule around a little bit at work and work late this weekend, which I really don't like to do, but I had to do it, so that's what I'm doing. So I really want to get the video out before that. So yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of people were, let's just get the elephant out of the room. I know that I've been kind of incommunicado for the last couple of weeks, and there's a reason for that. And I definitely don't want to make it seem as though I'm down on myself or anything, or there's anything more nefarious going on than is really going on. But, you know, I had the whole thing go on a couple weeks ago with Bobby Whitlock. And let's just say there were a couple people that I'm not going to tell you who they were or like where they were, but they pretty much have it all figured out and they knew who they are. But yeah, I definitely stopped beating myself up over it. I started to just kind of, it was more along the lines of, you know, I'm just going to stay out of the weeds on this one. And, you know, it makes me think of another YouTuber, a young kid out of Ireland called KDH. I don't know if you watch his stuff, but he's got a good channel, and he does these series things called audio audits, where he'll kind of call out bad behavior by, you know, anybody, YouTubers. He did one on Stevie T. He did one on Rob Chapman. He did one on Kiesel guitars, and his latest one is on Behringer. And you know, his last video on Behringer, it's like 45 minutes long. And the reason it is because he does a really good job of presenting both sides of the story. So there was a point to why I was telling you about KDH. And that was the thing that I wasn't able to do in that current situation. And the reason I told people on a lot of those videos that eventually I would tell the story is because I would tell my part of the story once it all comes out. And I'm sure that at some point it will, whether Bobby says it or whether another video is made or whether somebody else gets information that I didn't have at the time. Somebody's going to come up with the story. It's going to happen. And then at that point, I'll add my little tapestry to it and kind of be able to tell both sides of the story. But the point is that, you know, I was going off of mostly what Bobby was saying, and I felt kind of uncomfortable getting involved in all this stuff when I didn't have both sides of the story, you know? And so that was why I kind of pulled everything down and just slowly stepped away from the whole situation. Anybody who, you can go back and read my post. I made a long post a couple weeks ago about it, explaining why I had pulled down a couple of videos, and that was that, you know? So that was really, you know, all I wanted to say about that. As people hop on here, if anybody else hops onto the stream, if anybody has any questions on the Whitlock thing, I'll, you know, be sure to try to answer them. For some reason, my chat window is looking weird. So hold on, let me see if I can. Really don't have to end the stream and then I'll tell you what. There's always something with these live streams, man. Is there any way to minimize that? I'm like, for some reason, the chat is just blank. It's just the whole thing. It's just top chat, and then it's just blank. So I can't go to the bottom and write a pinned, you know, thing, which I usually do because people don't always see the beginning of the videos. So, you know, one second. By the way, it's my new flag. I ordered it. It was only like $20. They print like a picture on the flag, and I figured it would be a good backdrop for the live streams as opposed to the Phillies flag, which is kind of random and didn't really mean anything. But anyway, yeah, so like, you know, again, Bobby hasn't really released a video since all this happened. Nobody really knows what happened to him. Nobody knows what's going on. He's kind of gone dark. And, you know, I just hope everybody's all right. I don't, you know, again, it almost sounds like we're talking about like a mob hit or something. It's crazy. And I just didn't really understand why it was also like hush hush and crazy and like why all this kind of subterfuge had to go on with it. It's an album release, and it was one guy's, like, it was his opinion on how the album sounded, you know. Just an update on that. I did listen to it again. I listened to the whole thing because when I first made that video a couple weeks ago, I'd listened to the first 3 tracks, which give you a pretty good cross section of how the rest of the album is going to go. I'd listened to it not on headphones. So what I found out is that when I listen to it on headphones, I'm not a fan. When I listen to it on speakers, not as bad, because you get more bleed over from speakers, and it kind of goes back a little bit to the wall of sound. So it sounds less different when you listen to it on speakers, in my opinion. When I listen to it on like the Beats headphones, which are really clear, I really could hear the separation. And to me, it just sounded very thin, and it sounded like George's voice was almost too clear. And, you know, I don't know what I would call George's voice. Almost like delicate. It's like he's got his voice isn't like booming, right? So like John can really belt, Paul can really belt. George wasn't like a belter, you know? And his voice sat better in the mix of music, in my opinion. And so that was why I liked the album so much, because, you know, when he got along with Jeff Lynne and everything with Cloud9, and with like Traveling Wilburys, his voice sounded almost different to me in those, like it just sounded too overproduced. And but then like back in the 70s, I just always liked George's voice and the way it kind of sat in and almost became like another instrument. But anyway, the album sounds a little bit better, and I obviously like the special features very much, as everybody else does. So, you know, if I were to give it like star rating or whatever as a package, I would probably rate it 3.5 stars out of 5. I think that there's some songs on it that I actually like, and I kind of at least was able to understand what they were going for with some of the stuff that they did. And so, you know, I wasn't as pissed off about it as I was. All right, I really don't know if you guys are typing anything into the chat right now, because I can't see it. And there's always freaking something with these live streams. So I might get out and come back in and start a new stream, which is dumb, but it might be the only way I can bring this up. Oh, there we go. I just got it to come up. Okay. And Closet Krishna, Darren, you asked about Whitlock. I just went through the whole Whitlock thing. Updates, no. That's the simple answer to that. There's not really any updates, so to speak, because I haven't heard anything new regarding any of the albums or any of the videos that I made previously. So if you saw all those videos, you know the extent of what I know, and I still know even 2 weeks later. I haven't heard anything from anyone regarding any of that situation. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens and staying out of it, because that's my thing. And what I said earlier was that, you know, even though in the last video I made and subsequently took down, I sounded like I was really beating myself up about it. I decided to stop doing that, and I feel a little bit better about it, but at least I feel better about the way I approached it and the reason I was approaching it that way. But then I just realized that I didn't have both sides of the story, and I didn't really want to, approach it with just one side of the story. So that's kind of where we're at there. I also was talking about my next video, which should be released by this weekend. It's called 1971, and it's going to basically have every album released in that year. Every album that we care about, and just be a fun kind of retrospective of the year 50 years ago today. And there are so many good albums that came out that year that, it could be your rock's greatest year or music's greatest year, whether you call it rock or not. So obviously the other elephant in the room is Charlie Watts. So obviously everybody knows at this point that Charlie has passed away. I made a video a couple of days ago reacting to it. And I think that it speaks for everything I was going to say there. The only other question that we have as music fans is going to be whether or not the Rolling Stones. The question is not can they carry on. I think the question is should they? Because the answer is can they carry on? Sure you can. But the question of should you is that's a much more deep question that you have to ask yourself as a fan of the Rolling Stones. Because to me, there's really three completely unreplaceable members of the band, and that was Mick, Keith, and Charlie. Everybody else, more or less, is replaceable. The only reason I say that about Ronnie, even though I love Ronnie to death, is he's the third guitarist in the band. So, it was Brian Jones, and then it was Mick Taylor, and then it was Ronnie Wood. So, I'm not saying that Ronnie's, not good. I'm just saying he's replaceable because he was the replacement. So I'm just saying the three people that I feel like you can't replace is Mick, Keith, and Charlie. And so, the question is, what do they do? And I know that like it's stupid to say if they keep touring that they should call themselves something else or, they should do something. But what I think they should do is at the very least they should rename the tour like the Charlie Watts Memorial Tour or something like that. And obviously put together like a montage, a little thing that maybe you could play at the beginning of the show. Before the show, they play it. And, I just think that would be appropriate to, to his memory. And then after that, they can decide what they want to do, They have tour dates. Obviously, they've sold tickets, lots of them. And I doubt that they're going to just scrap it all because, it's not like they need money, but their fans, I think their fans want to collectively mourn with them. And I think that they should give them the chance to do that on this tour, and they should make it kind of like a memorial to him. Let the fans have the moment. Let them see the band one more time. And, even though it's not with Charlie, to just, have that release of just hearing that music. That's what I think they should do. After that, I think they should pack it up. That's what I think. I just think that it's that point. And the thing is, though, they still rock. That's the thing that blows my mind. Because you can see them now, and they're still good. They can still play. It's not like they're a bunch of like out of tune people that just can't play anymore. They're really good. So. It's really, that's my biggest question. I may do a video next week, which is just called, should the Stones continue? And just as a sneak peek, because I'm probably not going to keep this up, the answer is going to be yes. I think they should continue as long as they want. Sorry, I've been ignoring the I'll read the last few. Skip. Off the subject of Whitlock, can you, as a musician, really hear the difference between guitars manufactured in China, South Korea, Japan, U.S.? So I will say this. I'm not like a professional musician, Skip. I'm like, somebody who's just kind of like an armchair guitar player. It's not as much in what I can hear. It's more in how it feels to me. I think, like if I play a U.S. made Gibson and then I play a Chinese Epiphone, I can feel the difference between those two instruments. They're different to me. They play different. And do they sound better? Well, yes. I think that an Epiphone with stock pickups and a Gibson with stock pickups sounds very different with the same settings. It's just the way it is. Now, not to say that those guitars are not getting a lot better and that, they're starting, but Epiphones are starting to come up in price so much that it's almost like, who the hell cares? It's $800, $900 for the Slash. I mean, it's just insane. So it's more of a feel, not a hear thing for me. Renaissance Man asked me how I'm doing. I'm doing fine, sir. Thank you. I don't know if people wouldn't know who Charlie Watts is. But Mick and Keith obviously being the stars of the show. So I will agree with that. Brian Jones, as a little sneak peek to you guys who are on here right now, I'm working on something with Brian. I might do an end of year, like really long Brian Jones documentary. I know it's kind of been done before, but I just feel as though, every so often we need to revisit Brian Jones. And we need to remind people of when he was at his best, how good he was. And, so I'm working on something with Brian. Wyman was, he was decent. I mean, I heard stories about like Keith playing some of the bass lines for him. But I think when the Stones were like a blues-based, very kind of more simplistic major chord type of band, I think he was good for that. But I think he eventually kind of got outgrown. Whereas I think Charlie had the chops with the jazz background and a more traditional background to just kind of play anything that the Stones threw at him. So I think that's why Bill kind of fell by the wayside and Charlie just was, fine. That's Renaissance Man says the Stones were at their peak when Mick Taylor was. I mean, that's not even a question to me. I mean, those albums from Let It Bleed through to what was the last album Mick Taylor was on? I don't remember. I think Some Girls was the first album with Ronnie, right? Am I right about that? So whatever the one before that was. But Mick Taylor was, it was just ridiculous. Mick Taylor was long ago, and your comment is ignorant. It's not ignorant. It's true. Come on, man. Like, I love Ronnie, but like, if you look at all the albums that they released post Mick Taylor, I mean, they're nowhere near what I call the Holy Trinity, which is Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street. There's Some Girls. I mean, there's just, there's albums in there that are just never going to be like surpassed. It's just not going to happen. Mick Taylor was, for some reason or another, he just fit in with the Stones so well from a sound perspective in those days and brought a musicianship that pushed Keith to the next level, and their songwriting was off the charts at that time. So, whether that was Mick Taylor, whether he had anything to do with that or not, is really anybody's guess. Yeah, they don't need the money. Brian Jones was not just an incredible guitarist, Renaissance Man. He was incredible at everything. The man could like pick up any instrument off the floor that he never touched in his life and figure it out and be able to at least play a tune. And if he was really interested in it, he would be able to play it proficiently. He was a musical genius, but he was not a very good songwriter. So I think as a player, he was very good. I think that if Brian Jones had taken a different path with music, a more classical trained path, he would be playing in a symphony, maybe even today. That's how good he was. So like he was really good from a musical playing standpoint. Yeah. GMC, Rolling Stones' last farewell tour in New Orleans, late 70s. Yeah, they had a lot of farewell tours, right? I joked in the 71 thing. They announced a farewell to the UK tour because that was when they were moving to France to get away from the taxes, and that's when they made Exile on Main Street. So I thought that was pretty funny. Yes, swing is exactly the way I would put it, and the swing comes from the jazz, and I think that the swing just comes from, his ability to just be rock solid in the pocket with a song. It's just, man. Blacktooth Fox says, best regards from the UK. What time is it there? Jesus, man. Isn't it like, are you ahead or behind? You're ahead, right? What time is it there? God. But good to see you too, my friend. Wait a minute. I'm losing you guys. So every BW, roll on 863 says, I saw every BW put out last year, or in the last year. He talked about working on All Things Must Pass. His mind is clear. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like I said, I mean, that's the reason I stepped away from the whole story, because I don't know what happened. I don't know what was going on there. It just, whether he was just like over exaggerating, or maybe he misunderstood, or if they really were like bullying him. It's an album that's 50 years old. It's sold tens of millions of copies at this point. It has, like, George Harrison's All Things Must Pass has nothing to prove anymore. You can release it, remastered by Daft Punk, and who cares, Like, it just, that album's always going to stand. It's just, it is. And like, if the guy didn't like the mix this time around, then you do a 70th one in 20 years. Just like, shut up. Ronnie is the Swiss Army knife. He sure as hell is. He did play bass for Jeff Beck. That's right. But yes, he, and I think if you listen to a song like Stay With Me, a kick-ass guitar player in his own right. And I think he's very much underrated a lot of times because, he's the other guy in the band. But, he's Ronnie. He's been around for a million years. You just noticed the shirt. Yeah. I actually just found it again. I lost it for a while. And I lost it for a good couple of months, and I found it buried in my drawer somewhere that I didn't think I'd actually put it away. I thought it was in my dirty stuff, and then I found it, and it was actually not. It's Indiana Jones discovering Han Solo. When I saw this online, I was like, I must have it. I just picked it up. Yeah, Brian, and that was the thing with Brian, was that, he was a blues fanatic, but when, longevity is about change, right? If the Stones had released every album like their first album, do you think we would be talking about the Stones today? Now, sure, there are blues bands that we listen to, and they're very kind of niche, and they're very kind of there are blues fans that listen to those types of bands, but like John Mayall, perfect example, right? Great musician, had a few great albums, right? But we don't look at John Mayall as this longevity, even though I think he still performs, right? He's been around forever. And that's a testament to his musicianship. But I think that the reason why the Stones are so well regarded is because they changed and because they started to branch out. Even though they always had kind of that very bluesy bass to them, they branched out. They made different stuff. They tried different things, to some more successful than others, but they never rested on their laurels. And when you have a career that spans 60 years, you're going to have some clunkers in there, right? So, Brian, I think, was just kind of lost in the entire whatever, the Stones were trying to do. He didn't really approach it or agree with it as much as the rest of the band did. So I think he just kind of got left by the wayside. What's going on up here? See, the problem is it's really hot out, and I'm in the garage, and there's no air conditioning, so I'm just like looking out for mosquitoes all the time. So if you see me look around frantically, it's because I don't want to get hit. 5 hours ahead. Jesus Christ. So it's 2:32 in the morning. What are you doing? Go to bed, man. Yes. Steve Jordan is Steve Jordan is the guy who has been kind of filling in for Charlie. Will most likely fulfill the tour dates that the Stones still have out there. And so I mean, that, as I said before, I think they should do the tour with him. And I think that they should make it like change the name to like the Charlie Watts Memorial Tour, sell a bunch of Charlie Watts shirts on the tour that will sell, 100,000 of those shirts. And I think that, I think they should just do it and then decide what they want to do from there. Yes, Brian couldn't deal with the way the band was changing. Correct. Can anyone argue that the Stones and the Beatles are probably at the very top all time? No, and I'm not going to. John Mayall is playing here in Chicago tonight. There is my answer. He is still playing today. When was that, though, Fenderman? When John Mayall charted was Room to Move. That sounds like it was a long time ago, but yeah. Renaissance Man. Hold on. It's hiding your comments because you're cursing. Ooh, crap. Sorry, I hit the wrong button, but I'll read it anyway. When I get down to it. Love the Stones were using Nicky Hopkins and Billy Preston on albums. Damn straight. Hopkins was great, but I'm partial to Ian Stewart. Renaissance Man, I accidentally hit hide on his message. I didn't mean to. He just wrote, "How's my city? Hear a lot of murders and S there. Remember how bad 50th and Elmwood or West Philly was." I actually bowled at 73rd and Elmwood as recently as 2 years ago, but with the pandemic, we stopped bowling, and I haven't been there in a while, but yeah, murders are bad. There was one day a couple days ago when there were like 3 different police incidents in the same night. I don't want to get too political. I really don't, because I'm somebody who I just don't like idiots and people who are on too far on one end of the spectrum. I think our politicians should be trying to help as many people as possible and not just, a cherished few that pay their bills. So it works both ways. It works both on the Republican side and the Democrat side. Philadelphia has been run by the Democratic machine for the last 60 years, and I think that it's time for a change. Me being a pretty much straight down line Democrat. Marking papers. What are you, your teacher, I assume? 67th and Beavis. Yeah, I never lived out there. I'm from South Philly. Pretty like South Philly, like pretty close to the stadiums. We're within walking distance of the stadiums and stuff like that. Like when I went to see the Stones in 2013, I went down to my uncle's house. He still lives down there on Moy-Mensing Avenue, and we just walked to the Wells Fargo Center to see the Stones. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was no, was that the Wells Fargo Center? Yeah, it was Wells Fargo. That wasn't outside. But yeah, I haven't been out in Southwest in a long time. For sure. Did they design guitars differently? Or you're saying that the guitars should be bigger now? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I don't know. I feel like the crickets are outside. I'm in the garage, so you basically can hear them outside. They're just like right outside. We live right across from one of the biggest parks in the city, Pennypack Park. So the cicadas this year have been like absolutely insane. And no, I don't keep reptiles. But yeah, I guess I don't feel as though the design of guitars needs to change very much. Like, to me, the Strat body is longer, in my opinion, and that was that was generally a bigger guitar for those days. But as far as the scale length and the neck and everything, I mean, I don't know. I think that it's all based on, how a guitar tunes and what the best kind of length is. I feel like a longer guitar might be harder to keep in tune. I could be completely wrong about that, but I would think the longer it is, and then the more, then you'd have a situation where like bends would go off. I don't know. I don't know. I've never thought of it. Never thought about it. When is the next Forgotten Fretmasters? Well, I did just do one on Steve Cropper, and it seems to have gone over like a lead balloon, as Keith Moon would say. It really didn't get many views at all. I'm not really sure why. I thought that was a good subject, and I really like Steve Cropper, so I was like, I want to do Steve Cropper. So, yeah, I'm gonna try to get back to the swing of things. With the next episode is going to be about Terry Kath from Chicago, and then I'm going to start getting a little bit more out of the comfort zone a bit, because at this point I've done. Thank you, man. I'm glad you think they're fantastic. If you haven't seen the Steve Cropper one, go watch it. But anyway, yeah, what was I going to say? I want to start doing a little bit more of like a different feel to them. There have been a few people that I've wanted to do for some time. Like I want to do Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who is somebody who's got a really interesting backstory. And, there's a couple other people. I do this on live streams because I don't think, not as many people see it as, and then I kind of delete these after a while. So you guys are getting a little bit of a treat. So I have the next 12 through 20 basically, because I've done episode 11, which was Steve Cropper. So then I have episode 12 is Terry Kath. Episode 13 was Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Episode 14 is Hillel Slovak. Go look him up if you don't know who he is. And then we're going to do 15 and 16 are going to be guys that you like. Gary Moore, Paul Kossoff. And then with episode 17, I want to do Mary Ford. And then 18, we're going to do Danny Kerwin. And episode 19 is going to be another interesting one on Richie Edwards. You guys over in England probably know who he is, but he has a really interesting story where he disappeared. He just disappeared off the face of the earth, and nobody ever found a body or anything like that. And there's all these stories that popped up over the years of him kind of popping up from time to time, people seeing him in public and everything. But yeah, very interesting Welsh guitar player. Part of a movement, I believe it's pronounced Cool Cymru, I think is how they say it over there. But yeah. And then episode 20 will be a guy that everybody has been asking me for probably since the first episode that I did. We're going to make him the 20th Forgotten Fretmaster with Alvin Lee. So yeah, so I think that will be my next group, and I really want to try to, for those of you who don't know, like most of my subscribers on YouTube are over the age of 45 and more, even extreme over the age of 55. So I feel as though I really want to try to start to move into 80s and 90s guitarists. That's the reason that I did Steve Clark, because I felt as though, I was trying to do people that are a little bit more modern and people that would, kind of appeal to a younger audience. Now, whether that actually works or not remains to be seen. The Steve Clark video did fairly well, but that was episode 10. And I feel as though from the standpoint of, like I've been saying, and a lot of people have seen on my channel lately, is I haven't been getting the views. Like my views went way down. Now I want to think that is a combination of factors. I've slowed down. The summer has been a little bit tougher to make videos in because there's vacations. There's, things we want to do. Like on the weekends when I would be holed up inside making videos during the winter, now we want to go down the shore for a day or something like that. And it takes time. You got to do family stuff. You got to work. It's always busier, things like that. But then I also think that everybody else is doing that. So they're not sitting in front of their computer screens watching videos like they were for a year, and it's just it's kind of the perfect storm. Now, I think the way the YouTube algorithm works is it's very speed based. So if I don't make videos on a very regular basis, then I will lose the algorithm, and I'm going to have to fight to get it back. So this video I'm making is kind of hopefully going to be a return to form. It's going to be a video that appeals to a lot of different people. And I just think that, I'm just trying to continue keeping on, as far as like, I make all the money on YouTube. I make off of the ad revenue from the videos. I have no partnerships. Nobody's reached out to me for partnership. Kind of not sure why at this point, but just one of those things where I guess I haven't really hit the radar yet for some of these people that want to do partnerships, which is not to say that I want my videos to be filled with a bunch of pointless, pointless to do, a bunch of ads in a video. I don't want it to be all junked up and everything, but there are ways to do it that are more elegant, and it's got to be the right thing. If I'm, bringing my videos to a certain demographic, then, whatever I'm going to advertise needs to be part of that and make sense. I'm not going to try to market, Raid Shadow Legends to people who are all, more older, men who are not going to be playing those games on their cell phones. It's just not going to happen. So, it makes no sense. So, that hopefully will be the future. To be honest, I have been happy about the fact that the subscriber numbers slowed down, but they haven't ever stopped. So there's not like a point where, we really, what was I going to say? I totally lost my train of thought. It's going to happen. Anyway, I'm getting talked out because obviously I just spent a half hour. Actually, I didn't see how long the video was for that. Yeah, it was 22 minutes. It's going to be a long one. I didn't make too many mistakes, too. I was pretty happy with it. But for those of you who are interested, hold on, I got to turn down the brightness. You can see it on there. That's it. That's going to be the thumbnail for it with all the albums in the background. And, I think it was fun. It was a really fun, really fun. That is dead true. So Renaissance Man, I guess you're a YouTuber as well. You're definitely feeling me here. It's, one of the things I can show you guys some of my metrics right now because it's, it's pretty easy to figure it out. So, engagement. Yeah, so like most of the videos that I make from the standpoint of where is it? I thought I knew where it was. Oh, average view. It was only the top one. I'm just looking right past it. Yeah, so my average view duration which was longer about a month ago, is down to 5:45, but the previous period it was 6:34. And I make videos generally, between 10 and 20 minutes long. So, I would like to think people were watching the whole videos and I was keeping them engaged, but people just don't work that way. Even I don't. When I'm watching YouTube, sometimes I'll only watch half a video, and when I get the gist, I click off and do something else. So, it's very rare that I do find a channel or videos that I want to watch the entire thing, but I try to do videos that I hope, will do that. Skip says, as far as growing your channel, that's hard to do on your own while still trying to make a living. You're preaching to the choir, my friend. I would consider a lot of things, but for whatever reason, maybe I need to check my settings or something, but nobody's really reached out to me. And I have actually tried to reach out to different people. I've had different ideas regarding things, not other YouTubers, but like, for instance, so I've been trying to reach out to a bunch of local guitar stores and to do some, because I feel like a lot of them are struggling right now. Some of them are, not all of them. And we need to support those guys that are running these stores, even like big box stores like Sam Ash or Guitar Center. Like, people work there, and a lot of times, that's our first time that we were able to go into a store and pull a guitar off the wall and play it without any kind of fear of repercussion or anything like that. And when I remember the Sam Ash up in the northeast of Philadelphia, that's still there. I went in there a few weeks ago. The place was bare. There was not 10% of the guitars that they normally have there. They have a huge Epiphone wall, which generally runs floor to ceiling. They'll have like 20 Epiphones on there. There were 3 guitars on the wall. So I wanted to do videos where they basically did, where I did like a series of the local stores where we would go in, ask them how they've been doing with the pandemic, basically do a little kind of history on them and things like that, and try to help them out a little bit, because I feel like if you can go on Amazon and buy strings, how much would it make those small businesses, how much difference would it make to go to those guys and do it through them, even though you might have to wait a few days, maybe it would help them through this time or whatever. What else? They do have a small attention span. Of course, I remember stickball. Yeah, kids. Nowadays it's all technology. So, I never see kids out now. When kids go outside, they're like little assholes. Good Lord, they're just terrible. These kids now, like, they have no respect for authority. They could, property damage, stuff like that. And I'm not like, I've seen roving gangs of bike kids, and there's absolutely nothing to do with race. There are every race that they're all mixed up. It's like these kids all have no freaking clue, and it's amazing. It really is. Neil says, without doubt, you are the best channel and host on YouTube. I'm going to make that my banner, Neil. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm trying to, keep the output going in some kind of respect. I was just saying, I don't know if you just hopped on, but the summer is really tough because, you got family stuff going on. I work a full-time job. I wish I could say tomorrow that, oh, I'm making enough money off of YouTube, or even if I was on that threshold where I was right on the cusp of really doing it, and it's just, I think, I keep losing my train of thought. Maybe because I keep glancing over at you guys' chat, and I'm like, then I start thinking about something else. Oh yeah, so it's just like output has kind of slowed down a little bit. We're gonna get back on the horse though. I got a video coming this weekend, and then I'm gonna try to do a quick turnaround for next week and put out a video for next weekend, like a full out video, not a reaction video where I'm yelling about Bobby Whitlock or anything like that. Something real. So Yeah, Renaissance Man says I have about 2,500 that are engaged. People do subscribe, but here's what people don't do. They don't watch the old videos unless an old video goes viral and it gets up in their feed, and somehow that's how the thing kicks in. They don't go back and watch the old videos. What I always envisioned, because this is what I do, because I'm a nerd, is when I find a new channel that I really like, I'll actually click on their channel, go in and try to find a few more videos that I would enjoy from them, because I just want to see what else they've done. I want to see how many videos they've done. I'm even interested in how far they've come. What's their first video look like? There's a Canadian guy, Landon Bailey. I love this guy. He's funny as hell. Got one of those real dry senses of humor. Perfect for me. But you go watch like his really early videos, and they're, like you can see his growth as a YouTuber. You see how much better they're edited, how much better the lighting is, how much better the sound is. You just, you go for, like if you go back, I probably don't want to do this, but if you go all the way back to my first video that I ever made, okay, before I was anything, because I've been on YouTube for 11 years. A lot of people don't know that. I've been the guitar historian since the beginning of last year. But, all right, man, I'll see you later. I'm going to be off in a few minutes anyway, too. But my first video was about open G tuning and the Rolling Stones. And I just recorded it in our bedroom in our apartment with like no care about what was going on behind me. The room is a mess. There's crap everywhere, clothes all over the place, no background whatsoever, no care about how good I looked or the lighting or how the sound was or anything. And then, I started doing the Philly brew reviews, and I think the brew reviews was actually where I started to care about the content and how it looked, how the lighting was, how the sound was. And I started to really kind of get in there. But, I think, Skip, a lot of things that you're talking about, like there's a couple channels. There's this one channel that I subscribe to because, again, I'm a nerd. I like Star Trek. There's one called Space Doc. And I just subscribed to him recently. And they do basically just like rundowns of fictional spaceships and things like that. And he just announced on his channel that he's bringing in somebody else to write and basically upload videos along with him. But it's basically going to be like two content creators on one channel, right? And I guess they're just going to split it up. However, whoever gets the views on their whatever and all that stuff, or I don't know if they've written up a contract or anything like that now. If you start looking at a guy like Professor of Rock, this guy uploads a video every day, right? And you don't tell your wife what Space Doc is not. It's not like you're watching porn, bro. What was I going to say? So, like the Professor of Rock, he obviously uploads a video every day. I don't know if he's as scripted as I am. Like I write my scripts out because I tend to wander. I tend to get off on tangents if I don't. So when I do a video, like one of my main videos, Forgotten Fretmasters or If Guitars Could Speak, or any of my scripted videos, I am reading from a script and I try to stick to that script. Maybe once or twice I'll, add in a line or something like that. But for the most part, it's scripted. So when I look at a channel like Professor of Rock, I mean, this guy is obviously the talent, right? But then he probably shoots the video and then somebody else goes and edits it. And then somebody else sets up the set. Somebody else does this. Somebody else does. There's like a whole cottage industry, And then when you start getting to the really big boys, obviously now you're talking about like an entire, basically, you can have an entire, like, you can rent space, you have your own studio, you can have, all that kind of stuff going on. So, we're like at the level that I'm at right now. That's why, from the growth that I've had over this past year is insane to me, because I've only been able to do what I can do. And I've had so much growth in my mind that I'm very proud of it. Some YouTubers would look back on it and say, well, actually, that's kind of slow. Well, okay. I mean, and I wish that I could do a Forgotten Fretmaster every week or do one of those types of videos every week. But the amount of time that it takes for me to get on the computer, write the entire script, film it, then edit it, download all the pictures, put all the stuff, do all that, make sure the sound's good, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's a long process. And it generally is spread over 3 or 4 days, if not more, depending on how long it is. This video I just did has a 22-minute, it's probably going to be about 20 minutes long. So, in that respect, I'm going to have to, do a fair amount of editing for it. So, I do it all right now. Everything regarding my videos. I make the thumbnails. I do all of the posting. I do all of the uploading. I do every bit of this thing. So, thank you, Neil. It's one of my favorites too, the Alan Wilson video. I think that came out really, really good. But yeah, I've thought about it. I've definitely thought about it, but it's the research part and everything. I actually, I know it sounds like I'm bitching, and I really don't want it to come across like that. I am not, because I actually enjoy it. Because when I have an idea, it's usually because I want to learn more about it. So when I had the idea to do the video about the session players of All Things Must Pass, good example, is because I said to myself, who played on that album? I really want to know everybody who played on that album. That would be really cool. And then bingo, had the idea where I was like, oh, that would make a great freaking video, to do that. And so I basically took my learning process there and then turned it into, a video. And that's kind of where it comes from. So, the parts of it that I wish that I had somebody else do is really the editing and the putting it together part, because, obviously I would need myself to record it. And you can tell with my backdrops and everything that I recorded in my basement, I have a nice thing going on there. But for the most part, I do the best I can. So right now, I'm enjoying it. It's not that I'm not enjoying doing all those things. It's just very time consuming. And from the standpoint of YouTube and the way things work, it's not conducive to a super fast, blow up of the channel where it's going to go from, 0 to 60. Then I look at channels like 5 Watt. And 5 Watt does not upload very often. He'll do live streams. He'll do kind of shorter videos. But his major videos, guy takes 2-3 weeks between videos. And I feel like, he's got a lot of subscribers. So I guess to some extent, it's really going to take that one video. Because if you look at 5 Watt, he's got about 250,000 subscribers. And he has a couple videos with 1 million views on it, right? And to me, right now I think my biggest video, not the older ones, is the Tommy Bolin one. And that's got like 130,000 views. Very proud of it. That's a lot of views. That's a hell of a lot of views. But it's going to be that one video that really just whatever combination of factors comes together to make that video the big one. That's where it'll come. And that's why my whole kind of vision for that is that I don't know which video it's going to be. It might be a video already made. To be honest, I actually thought the Squire video that I made, because when I released that, it went off like a rocket. And I started having delusions of grandeur because I thought, oh man, this video is like way off the charts from what I usually get, at least early on. And I thought that was going to be the one. I thought that because it had, the type of universal kind of, I guess, subject matter that it would do really well. But then it kind of fizzled. It got to about 60,000 views and it just kind of, went down into the tank. But the thing with YouTube And the thing that I learned in the first year is that you can't always expect a video to do immediate views. Sometimes you'll get a video that will do views later on based on something else. And like, for instance, my Slash video about his fake Les Paul. When I first released it, it did moderately well for what my channel was doing at the time. But then I think there was a Slash documentary that was released on YouTube. And then on the side, that was one of the videos that would come up as a suggested content. People were clicking on it, and then it grew from there. So really, YouTube is kind of one of those nuts that if you try too hard to crack it, you'll actually end up alienating more people than you please. That's just my 2 cents about it. And I think that at the end of the day, I just need to just keep doing what I'm doing, and hope that one day I get that video that does kind of kick things into overdrive and sends me on my way. Because honestly, I would love the ability to do more on YouTube. I would love, I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was younger. And I feel like this is a hobby at this point now that is kind of right in there with that, and I would definitely like to do that someday. Neil, you're crazy. What are you doing up at 3:00 in the morning? What you got going on? Or were we talking about that earlier? Was that you I was talking about earlier? Somebody else checked in from the UK. I forget who it was. But I'm probably about to sign off, so you can go back to bed, Neil. But yeah, so before I go anywhere, any final questions about Bobby Whitlock? Because I know that a lot of people were wondering about that. And just so I revisit what I said earlier, because I know a lot of people jumped on later. I don't know anything else beyond what I knew then. And I feel like I was in a situation that I shouldn't have been, and I was only telling one side of the story at the time. And I feel as though if I'm going to wade into the middle of this, then I need to be talking about both sides, or at least have another. Skip, you are 100% right. So the whole Whitlock thing it was getting views, it was making money, it was getting me subscribers, but I don't want to get them that way. I don't want to be. So I talked earlier about the channel KDH, right? KDH started doing his audio audits, and he has waded into that middle ground of being kind of controversial enough to warrant the drama and the subscribers and things of that nature. I don't want that. I don't want to be the drama channel. And I know that draws people in like moths to a flame. I know that really has the potential to be very good. But then if you're getting subscribers based on that, then the drama has to continue. Then that's what your channel becomes at that point. And I think I actually said that to him on one of his videos. I told him, like, I just commented, and I don't think he ever responded to me, but I said, you have to be careful that this is what your channel is going to be about. He was making videos of gear reviews and playing guitar. Very good guitar player, metal guitar player, more or less. And, very knowledgeable on gear, very good with like tone and things like that. But then he started doing these controversial videos, and he wasn't playing in them. There was no music in them. It was just straight ahead, like, I'm going to go after this guy about whatever. And that is now what a lot of your subscribers are expecting. They don't care about the playing stuff. They just care about the next drama, right? And I didn't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy, because that's just not the way I am. I'm not that type of a person to stir the pot and to try to do that. I report on things after the fact. That's why I'm a historian. Okay. I don't make history. I just report on it. I'm sure somebody said that at some point. So, that was really the main thing. That's not where I want to be. If I get my subscribers, I want it to be on the strength of my videos and the content of my videos and the interest factor of my videos, and not because, I go on and call people out every once in a while and, talk about that. But my final word on the Bobby Whitlock situation is and always will be that I wish the best of him. I love the video that I made about him some months back. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's called Bobby Whitlock in the Eye of the Storm. I was very happy to make it. I was very happy that he enjoyed it. What can I say about the Phillies cap, Skip? I'm from Philadelphia. But I wish the best of Bobby Whitlock, and I hope that everything that happened at that time a few weeks ago was or is going to come out as being a little bit of a misunderstanding, and hope just kind of, I don't know, be not as bad, or maybe he does a video with Danny Harrison and everybody hugs it out and makes up and everything. That would be amazing, and I would be the first one to like that video. But I just think, I think everybody kind of went off the deep end there, and I think we need to just pull the reins back and let it all chill out. Last question I'll answer. Neil says, is Mike Rutherford a rated guitarist? Depends on what you mean by rated. I think Mike is good enough. I think that he had the ability to fill the space of being multiple guitarists, but he's not necessarily going to be the type of guy who's going to burn up the fretboard or do things that way. So I think if I look back on some of the 80s work, especially like Duke, Abacab, Genesis, Invisible Touch, those albums, he's good enough. He's not somebody that I'm going to say that is like a great guitar player. He's just a very good guitar player who knows how to serve a song, and is just very, by that point in Genesis' career, he was experienced enough to kind of make it work. And this is the best I can do there, because he was the only guitar player, and eventually they started to tour with people like Lee Sklar and stuff like that, and who would put Mike Rutherford to shame on the bass, but it is what it is. Vinny Roth says Joe Walsh is an underrated guitarist. I would not call Joe Walsh an underrated guitarist. I would call Joe Walsh a rated guitarist, because he is often talked about as an amazing guitar player, and rightfully so. One of my favorites. I consider him in my top 5 of guitar players of all time. I was actually going to make a new series and have him be the first episode, and it was going to be called Legends. But then I decided, because I have to decide, like I was saying earlier, it's all very time consuming. And I have tons of video ideas and I write them all down. It's not like I'm going to forget them. So someday, who knows? But the Legends thing is like, right now, my main focus is making videos that no one else is making. There's dozens of videos, about Joe Walsh, on YouTube. And I say, well, can I add anything to the story that would really change anybody's perception or add anything to the story that nobody else has currently done? And if the answer is maybe a little bit, but not much, then I shelve it. What else is going on here? You're welcome, Neil. Rutherford always seemed... They were all Brit public school boys. Actually, they were private school boys. Okay. Yeah. Charterhouse. Yeah, they were very hoity-toity. Tony and Mike especially. I don't know about Anthony Phillips, but I didn't know enough about him. I always thought about doing a Forgotten Fretmasters about him, but he doesn't have that much of a body of work, so it would be hard to do. But Rutherford, yeah, he's like, it was kind of like, well, I mean, look, Rutherford, even there were several documentaries that I watched about Genesis. One was where he literally, said that when Peter Gabriel's child was like almost, it was on, I think it was his first child, his daughter. Was it a daughter? On her deathbed. She was like dying. And they were like, we got to record this album, man. Like, like just crass, horrifically ridiculous, selfish behavior. And, I feel like Tony and Mike especially, they were like that for sure. They were like that. So, okay. In the UK, a private school is called a public school. So what's a public school called? You understand what I'm in America. I guess that would be kind of like what it would be more akin to a private school than it would be that. Ann Phillips was a charter house, but I always kind of got the feeling like him and Peter were more like the softer ones, and like Mike and Tony were more like the highbrow kind of, even like to some extent a bully. I don't know. But Phil was always like kind of the middle class guy that was, the working class dude. And he always never really felt at home in that, unit when they were all together. So at least not from a personal standpoint, from a musical standpoint. Genesis is one of my favorite bands, so I can go on about them all day. Roy Buchanan is going to be in the mix soon. I always kind of like, he's a guy, like, again, I try to mix it up as much as I can, doing a lot of blues guitarists, but I don't know how well known Roy Buchanan is to the point where if he would get views. So he's more of like a Forgotten Fretmaster down the road. Ollie Halsall, the same thing. But yeah, I know like Anthony Phillips is a great guy. Like I've everything that I've read about him is that he's a really good guy. So is Steve Hackett. And, I think Anthony Phillips actually is quite good. He's a really good guitar player. I mean, if you listen to Trespass, there's some really good stuff on there. And I think if he had stayed with the band and was able to get over stage fright and everything that was going on with him, that he would have been very well known in the annals of prog rock as, really, really good guitar player. But anyway, I'm getting tired, so my voice is starting to crack here. So I'm going to sign off. I appreciate everybody. Really lively chat. Thanks for popping on for this completely unannounced and impromptu live stream. I think that I've warbled enough here, and tomorrow I'm pretty much going to be hopefully working on the video all night tomorrow night, and hopefully it'll get uploaded. I may hold it until Saturday just because I don't like uploading too late. It just seems to kind of die a slow death. So we'll see you at the next video. 1971, it's coming. I'm really looking forward to this one. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I really enjoyed making it, or I'm enjoying making it because I'm still making it. And then next week, Forgotten Fretmasters is back with Terry Kath from Chicago. So thanks for checking in, and we'll see you next time.